Welcome to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show for purpose-driven, passion-fueled spiritual entrepreneurs ready to live their purpose, passion and prosperity as they create the life and business of their dreams whilst transforming the world, doing what they love and making fabulous money. Each week we bring you inspiring and empowering topics, popular thought leaders to empower you to transform all areas of your life and business. With your host, spiritual intuitive, entrepreneur, transformational business coach and mentor, Kimberly Lovell.
Hello sweethearts, it's Kimberly Lovell here, your host for the Wealthy Business Goddess Show, and I'm super excited this week to bring you a wonderful guest, Alison Mackenzie. Alison is often described as one of the most authentic and inspiring souls that you can meet, and I would agree with that. Alison is on a mission to empower business owners and entrepreneurs to grow profitable businesses that make a difference in the world. Alison's keynote talks, training, mentoring, and her best-selling books, Gift to Profit and Heartitude, have favourably changed the good fortune of thousands of people worldwide. She loves doing humanitarian work, fundraising, and living by the beach in Scotland, beautiful part of the country here in the UK. So today, welcome Alison.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And also, for our topic, we're talking about Gift to Profit and how we can actually grow our businesses by supporting the charities that we love. So very dear to my heart. And Alison's been a great help mentoring myself in terms of looking at how I could incorporate my business growth with supporting the charities that I love. So I'm sure that we're going to talk about the charities that we both support, and I'm really excited for Alison to share some of the tips and strategies that will support you in supporting your charities. So let's dive in. So excited. So Alison, tell us a little bit about how, what got you started in terms of working with charities and this whole idea of Give to Profit. How did that come about for you?
Well, it's definitely been an accidental business side or project that I've now seemed to be working on. So it started for me a few years ago. I'd been in business for about 7-8 years. I was running a full-time training consultancy business and I was knackered, and I just decided, I want to go and do some kind of humanitarian trip. I'd always seen when you see the images of war or natural disaster or genocide or refugees that we've got going on just now, it just used to break my heart, and I felt useless because I wasn't, somebody who could go over and help as a medic or go up and lift the bricks off this, the survivors or anything. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, I just want to go and have that experience of helping and feeling like I'm really, really making a difference. And so I set that as my intention. I was looking for a way in which I could give and make a difference, physically go out somewhere. I wanted to involve travel because it's my number one passion.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted it to be around young people because I haven't been fortunate enough to have my own kids. And so I set that intention, and the very, very next day I had an email arrive in my inbox from Laurie Layden, who was going out and doing trauma healing work out in Rwanda. And at that time I'm trained as a therapist in many, many different ways. I just thought, I love what she's doing. So I sent her an email and said, love what you're doing. Would like to hear more. And she said, fancy a Skype call on Monday. I was like, yes, okay. And 8 weeks later, there I was up the top of a mountain in Rwanda. Uh-huh. So that for me was about, stopping and paying attention to the signs and then acting upon it. Mm. What I didn't expect was that it was going to change my life just in the way it has, because it changed me profoundly as a person. But I came back from that first trip. I think I really just thought I was going to go over, spend maybe a week or two out there, suss out the charity, see if I liked them, and then thereafter I would just donate some money to them. I didn't really think of it being much more than that. But when I was out there, my heart just burst open with love and compassion for these poor souls, and there was no way I could walk away. And so I decided I needed to come back and do some fundraising. But I was running a full-time business, and how do you do that when you're building a business and you have other responsibilities going on? And I didn't want to eat into my personal life anymore because I didn't feel I was getting enough time with my family and friends. So I decided to make these little bracelets. We call these miracle bead bracelets.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and I started making these, and I just thought, well, I'll take them along to networking events and see what happens. And I'd go along to networking events and I'd easily be able to raise £200-300 because people would hear me saying who I am, and I'd take the bracelets, they'd buy a few bracelets, and then I'd be invited to speak, and then people would invite me along to their friends, their houses for parties with their friends to do a little bit of tapping or healing work, if you like, and sell my bracelets. And so the fundraising just went from there. But it didn't take long before I began to realise I was getting business on the back of the fundraising I was doing. Because at those parties, people would say, well, do you do one-to-one work? How can I work with you? How can I find out more? And that's really where it started, because I began to realise how my business was expanding, not just from the fundraising. We also had a Hollywood documentary film made about our work. And that involved me going out to America to help with the fundraising for that film. And the people I met there were people that I could never have imagined. A lot of names that I'm sure some of your audience will have heard of that I never thought I'd meet, let alone get to spend time working on a project like this. And that was because I was volunteering my time to go off and do that. So yeah, my opportunities just started to open up on the back of the charitable work I was doing.
Wow. And it sounds like it was really an organic journey, that it just kind of fell into place. Like you followed through on the inspiration, but everything kind of slotted into place, and before you know it, there you were. Like, wow.
Yeah, it was. And there was lots of wow moments and lots of very, very surreal moments I've had over the years where you just think, well, this is a bubble, especially when I'm over in California, just pure bubble land. And then you come back to reality. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of challenges. I mean, the humanitarian ships themselves, I've been out 9-10 times to Rwanda now, and it's fabulous the work we've done and the way we've transformed lives and helped people overcome the trauma. But it's far from a holiday. It is by far one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. And yeah, it's been amazing.
It kind of puts life into perspective, doesn't it? When we go, I remember a trip to India and kind of seeing the extremes from one extreme to the other, and it was just such a culture shock, and I think that travel is amazing for our development. And so to actually meet with these people that you were able to support, having known what they've been through, must have been, even though it was really challenging, very rewarding and I'm sure enriching in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it taught me so much, as a healer, as I was focusing really on that a lot of my time doing at that point, it really taught me the capacity we all have as human beings to heal. I mean, if we can heal from, as many of these young people did, from seeing their families being murdered in front of them and bringing themselves up as children, to get to a point where they can heal and forgive the people who committed those crimes. In some cases, literally face to face and saying that they forgive them. That just amazing, blows my mind. Totally blows my mind. And then you've got the whole aspect of it helps you see what really goes on in genocide and war. And I think it's just broadened my mind on what the challenges that we have in the world and how any of us can help if we just offer to do so and explore the opportunities.
I love that. Okay, so tell us, Alison, how can people, how did you got started in terms of just an idea that came into your head, and then the next minute there you were off on your journey? How do you help people find their charity, and how can people get started? Because it's a little bit of a minefield, isn't it? It's a nice idea, and then I know when we were working together and I was looking at different charities to support, and we were kind of looking at all of the legal stuff and so on. So can you talk a bit more about how people can get started and what are the challenges?
Yeah, so if I talk about, I suppose the starting point is actually maybe to just go through some of the misconceptions people have. Because a lot of people talk about this phrase of giving back. And with that, I'm really not a fan of that phrase at all, because I think with that, it is the assumption that we have to have something to give. And for some people, it breeds this feeling of being better than others, than, when I don't see the world like that. And so what I would say is that if you are somebody who just likes to make a difference, likes to help people, then supporting causes can be a really easy way to grow your business. You don't have to wait until you have money. Yeah. Because there are the ways you can support causes without having it, having any extra money. So if I give an example, one would be when we're in business, if we consciously make the decision to source social suppliers. So, Kim, you run events and I run events. Yeah. And so one of the things that I do is when I run an event, one of the first things I will look at when I'm looking for a venue is, can I find a venue that is a social enterprise or a charity? Therefore, the money is, I can have social impact spending money I would already be spending. If I can't find a social enterprise or charity, I will look to get a venue from a company who has good social values and is doing something good in their community or the world. I love that. Yeah, so I mean, that's a really easy thing we can do. Yeah. If you like fundraising, and I had no experience of fundraising, I had no idea I liked it. And when I talk about fundraising, it's things like I make the bracelets and I sell them at networking events. Yeah. Instead of speaking for free, I say to people, give me a donation and I'll come and do a talk. If it's local, if it's any more than that, yeah. And if it's if it's an organisation that's paying their staff, I do ask them to pay me. But yeah. It stopped me getting out of doing things for free. I'd start to say, well, let's have a little bit of an energy exchange here. You could be incorporating, so I actually run fundraising events sometimes, so fundraising webinars, fundraising tasting events in a local community, and I found that the people that come along to those are better aligned to who I am and therefore are more likely to come along, attend and buy from me later on down the line. I don't go in with that intention, there's no big sales push or anything, but I just tend to find people want to support a cause and they like feeling they're giving, so you're actually giving them the opportunity. Yeah. So there are many, many different ways. And in fact, I've written a blog on that topic and it's in my book and everything. But there's, I guess, coming back to what you asked there then about the starting point is asking, well, what difference do you want to make? Do you want to do some fundraising? Do you have a cause? And a lot of people have a cause that's very close to their heart. And they want to raise money. So if I give an example of one of my good friends who tragically lost her son to meningitis, and she wanted to raise funds to honour his 21st birthday. But she had spent, just after losing him and in the initial years, she did a lot of fundraising for meningitis charity. Yeah. And she knew how much it took over. And she was building a business and, she said, I can't afford the time at my business. Mm-hmm. So we explored, different ideas around what she could do. And her and her husband came up with the idea. They run an accidental book publishing company. So her husband started publishing his books, self-publishing books, after his son had died in honour of his son. And people started asking him and them, how do you do that? So now they help people, take their Word documents into published books. Beautiful. And it's great, all in honour of their son. Yeah, what a legacy. Isn't it? Well, the legacy they then came up with from a charity perspective was that they came up with the idea of a Callum MacLeod Memorial Prize. So they had people pay a donation, and I can't remember what the amount was, it was something like 40 or 50 pounds, make a donation to enter the competition. And it was for people who wanted to get a book published within 6 months, and it was effectively you get the whole thing done. You get your editing, your cover, your book, your Kindle book, everything done for the winner of the competition. And so somebody won the prize. It was fabulous. They got loads of media coverage because they do tend to get coverage with what they're doing and the charitable component. But from a business perspective, what Kim talks about is how the charitable component and their authentic story helped people feel as if they trusted them quicker. So they had people after the competition saying, can I just give you money for 3 books right now? Because I know I want you to publish my books. And they effectively had around 40, 50 people who'd entered the competition. These were people who they now knew wanted to publish books in 6 months. And it was a warm pipeline of clients. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And all because they wanted to do something to raise money genuinely in aid of their, in memory of their son. And what a phenomenal legacy to have all those books now going out in his honour of his life. Beautiful.
Yeah. And I like, that it is that kind of win-win, that exchange of energy. And you're right. I think that when we look at the charities that are close to our hearts, and, I think pretty much all of my clients, my ideal clients, and I'm sure that the majority of our listeners are people who are wanting to make a difference, people that are kind of wanting to contribute. And so when you have that, it's like a common goal or shared values, that kind of builds that connection, doesn't it? Which is what, as businesses, with what we're trying to do with our marketing, to actually reach out to people. But this is just such a way that we are contributing to everyone, to the business, to the client, prospective client, and to the charity, or back to the planet. So
definitely. And I think being one of the eye openers more recently, as I've begun to focus on this more and more, it's become a much bigger part of my business, is the research out there shows that as a consumer, we want to do business with businesses who care and can show they care. And I mean, the percentages are very, very high. And so if as a business we are not doing something that demonstrates we care and we give, then the chances are we will be losing business to those who do. And that was quite a shock. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And to know there's lots and lots of studies out there that support that now. So yeah, how can people get going? Work out what you like doing and just take it from there, and then just start to set yourself the goals. And I think the important thing to make sure is that for this to help, as a business, we can support causes. What I talk about and teach is how do you grow your business by supporting causes. And to do that, you need to strategically link your charitable giving into your business.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you were just talking about Kim's business with the books. I'm thinking that is a great strategy, and the thought's gone into it, So
yes, yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, beautiful. So I know when we were talking about charities, what I had that feeling, and I'm sure that many of our listeners have this, where we feel like we want to support, and we maybe do support certain charities, or we do certain things, but it felt like it wasn't enough. And one of the big gifts I got when I first spoke to you about this, I think, was, look, you kind of highlighted to me things that I was already doing, which I kind of dismissed. So I just kind of want to mention that, because I know people, when they're starting up in business, or perhaps they feel that they don't have a lot to give, and Alison sharing that there's always something that we can give, but I know we were talking about outsourcing and how we can look to find suppliers. So lots of people are using virtual assistants, and sometimes we're outsourcing to other countries, which is, a great way to be able to support other people who perhaps wouldn't have that opportunity.
Totally, because when I talk about social impact, and I know we've had this conversation, Kim, about how it's to me, a social cause is anybody who needs help, and that could be a registered charity, it could be a social enterprise, it could be a local club, but it could be somebody who's living in your street who has got a sick, somebody sick in their family and they need help. Or it could be, as we've discussed, we consciously make the decision to hire people from particular countries, and to do it with the intention of doing good. So not because, as the large organisations do it, it's all about cost savings. It's about consciously making choices around, right, I would like to support somebody from that particular country, be clear on your reasons, and pay them a good Western rate. That's when you start to make the difference.
And that's something that lots of people are already probably doing. They're already outsourcing, so we can look at, how can we just tweak things and have that bigger impact, and feel that we are making that contribution. Because to me, it was kind of just not really, it was kind of part of everyday business, so I kind of wasn't really counting that. I was kind of just missing it. So I was like, oh, actually, yeah, that's good. And it was just, I think that feeling of not doing enough, not being enough, we want to make this big change in the world. And, it's fantastic for you to be going out to Rwanda and doing, all of that. For a lot of people, perhaps, that have families, that may not be possible. And there are so many ways that we can get involved, and that we can, as you say, grow our business and support charities.
And I think you're absolutely right, Kim. It's taking the time to reflect on what are you doing. And one of the things I talk about in my book is all about how it's important for us to be able to tell our own story around this. So I talk about think about, well, what is your social impact mission? What difference do you want to make? And state that. You can have an impact page on your website that says, this is what I'm looking to do, and this is the impact I'd like to have. These are the different things I'm doing. This is the impact of those things I'm doing. The lives I've changed, whatever it is that the impact is that you want to have. And sometimes it is just taking that time to reflect on it. And sometimes we think, well, I'd like to do a little more. And sometimes we go, oh, didn't realise I was doing quite as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think also, one of the things that I know I've been looking more at, and I still don't know probably as much as I need to know, I've kind of been looking at this recently. Can you talk a little bit about the legislation? Because I know when I was looking at the charities I wanted to support, and I have had some issues with a couple of them in that they didn't have the cause marketing agreements. So can you share a little bit about that? So I know you go into this in more detail in your book. But
yeah, this is to do with the fact that in the UK, bizarrely actually, as an individual, even in the UK, if we raise money for a charity, we legally are required to tell that charity. Yeah. Which I didn't have a clue that you had to do that as an individual. Yeah. As a business, there is other legislation which is also involves something called a cause marketing agreement. So this isn't where, if you're an individual raising money, you can raise the money and you can hand it over to them. That's fine. But this is where, and you may actually run your business and then make a donation, but you're not telling anybody about it. If you do that, that's philanthropy. That's fine. Cause marketing is where we mention in our marketing, so on our website, in sales campaigns, in emails we're sending out when we're speaking to people, if we mention things like, I'm going to donate a certain amount to a charity or cause, or of profits or sales values, then that is deemed to be cause marketing. Yeah. And legislation does apply. So, but it only applies in the UK for registered charities. So you can raise money for social causes, other social causes, and the legislation doesn't seem to apply. If you are in the US, they have different legislation in every single state. So that's a whole other ballgame. Yeah. And then you have other countries that have nothing. And I'm saying that in case you've gone to think, no, you've got, an audience all over the place. So what I talk about is all about the best way around it, in all honesty, is when you want to, if you have a particular cause you want to raise money for, just get in touch and say, listen, have you got an agreement that a lot of established UK charities will have cause marketing agreements. They might call it something else. They might call it a partnership agreement. Mm-hmm. But you could just say, well, do you have any contracts or agreements that you draw up with businesses who raise money for you? And if they do, work with that. I actually spoke to a social cause just last week who that they've got a massive campaign going on just now. With some massive big corporate supporting them. And I said, so do you have a cause marketing agreement? And they were like, no. I was like, all right, okay, so how are you getting around that then? Because, I mean, they're in the press. I mean, it's a big thing that they're trying to organise. And they were saying, well, actually, because we're linked up with, for them it was with Virgin Giving, effectively, when people sign up, they're saying, well, we kind of know. And the agreement kind of happens in that transaction of, well, now this is where you raise the money, this is where you say it, and this is how the money all comes through. Just register as an individual, which is fine if you want to do it as an individual. Yeah. And it's not going to stop me doing that, because I think that, to be perfectly honest, the legislation is there to protect consumers. It's there so that people don't go out and say they're raising money for charity and they're not. It's there to stop people saying, I'm donating a percentage of profits or to charity, because if you do that and you run at a loss, you have misled your consumers because there's no donations going on. Yeah. So follow best practices, get in touch with the charity that you want to support. Obviously use any of the documents they've got, and if you haven't got it, just continue to have discussions and see what you can work with them. I wouldn't have it put you off trying to support them. Yeah. And sometimes I've worked with causes who just didn't know. And I've said, well, listen, why don't you go and check out with this lawyer and get an agreement put in place if they feel you need it? Because it may well be that things will change. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. So...
And actually, sorry, it's nothing to be scared of. It's all very straightforward. That's the other thing. It's just all basic.
I'm glad that you've said that. Because
it's all basic.
Legal thing, we go like, no. Can we do, can't we do?
It's not. It's literally dates, names, amounts. It's basic principles so that you can pay them the money and they know when they're getting the money and how you're using their name. So it's easy.
Okay. So tell us about, how did you come up with this model of Give to Profit?
Well, it literally just came from that whole making the bracelets, because people just started saying to me, they could see that locally to me especially, people could see my business was growing on the back of the work I was doing in Rwanda. And they were saying, well, what is it you're doing? So that's when I started to write it down, if you like, and distill it into a process.
Yes.
And it, in all honesty, until I remember I'd written the book and I gave it to one of my friends and she read it. And I just thought, I'm just telling people what it is that I've done and hopefully it will inspire a few other people. And then she came back and she went, you have no idea what you've written, have you? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you think I've written? I know what I've written, but I don't know what you think I've written. And she said, you have completely redefined a new business model.
Yeah.
I was like, really, have I? And she said, yes, for business, for schools, for education, for everything. You have completely done that. And now I realize I have. And what I talk about is that how, people who set up a commercial business set up to make money. And I know a lot of therapists and healers especially will say, no, I don't. I do it to make a difference. If you've set up a business, you're there to make money, because otherwise it would be a hobby and you would never be thinking of taking any money, even though I know a lot of us have had issues with money.
Yeah.
So, and I know you can help them out with that, Kim.
And have hobbies.
Yes,
Some still do.
Yeah. So, but if we're running a business, the thing that makes a business different to hobby is money is involved and profit is one of the intentions.
Yeah.
For people who don't want to do that, they either do it as a hobby or they set up a charity.
Yeah.
There are people in the middle who in the UK go along and set up a social enterprise because they want to solve a social problem. And until recently, there hasn't been a model for, but what happens if you are a commercial business that wants to earn money, doing good? What is there? And so that's what I call Give to Profit. It's the business model for businesses who want to do good in the world, who don't want to register as a social enterprise or charity, or maybe can't. I mean, I know a lot of people who have tried to register as a social enterprise and they're told they're not social enough by the funders. Okay. Which actually they're doing a lot of good, they're having social impact. So yeah, that's where the model came from. And it's really for anybody who wants to run a profitable business through doing good in the world.
Good. So tell us a bit more about this idea of the impact and versus the contribution, because that just kind of makes my heart swell, It's kind of like a little hinge that swings a big door and makes such a huge difference. Yeah.
Oh, well, this was the awareness I had when, I was doing all this fundraising, and a lot of the time we focus on, well, this is how much money I've raised, this is how much money I've raised, this is how much money I've raised, which is great. However, how is that money being used? And one of the things that I talk about in the book is how not to select causes in relation to only choosing causes where all the money goes to those on the ground and, to the children in Africa or to the children locally, or because that model supports the belief that anybody who does good shouldn't be paid for doing it, which to me is mad.
I love we're having this conversation, Alison.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this much before.
Oh, yeah, no. But I mean, it's total madness. Why do we think it's okay for the majority of this population to go and get jobs, and they do fine in their jobs? There are lots of people out there earning loads of money for destroying the world and creaming it, and yet for some reason, if you're doing good, hey, we're not allowed to earn any money. And as a charity or a cause, no, all the money needs to go to the end user. And being in Africa was a massive, massive eye-opener, because it is extortionate every single day to hire translators, to get transport, to stay in accommodation in a country where you've not got the infrastructure, there's no postal system. To do any of that costs a lot of money. And it was a real wake up for me to go, wow, actually, charities need money for distribution. There's no point in donating money for tents if you can't get the tents from the UK to the people that you need, or the vaccines, or whatever it is. So this idea of contribution versus impact is that our contribution is what we do. It could be what we raise. It could be time we donate. But actually, what difference is that making? And is it making the difference that we want? And how do we measure that? So, for instance, now I have linked a lot of my business practices and things like if somebody gives me a review on Amazon for my podcast, for instance, I will donate a day of education to a child in Cambodia. A child is going to school. Yeah. That is what's happening on the back of a review. And I've linked certain impacts to certain activities that I do. And I know that is happening. But it's just being mindful of this is what I've done, but also look at, so what is the impact? How many lives has that actually changed? How many lives has that saved? How many children are now being educated? How many older people are now feeling happier and not so isolated? You know, whatever it is, the cause that you're supporting.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm just thinking maybe we can give a shout out for some of the charities that we do support.
Oh, go on then. Who are you supporting? You go first. I'm going to turn it on you now. You go first.
So I love Kiva, who are micro-lending that support lots of different groups of people. And you can actually choose who you want to support and what kind of projects you want to support. And they lend. So they lend to people who perhaps otherwise wouldn't be able to start a business. So I love that as an entrepreneur, to be able to support other people that are wanting to, you know, be entrepreneurs themselves. Then I support Smile Train, who I absolutely love. They do amazing work with people with hair, lips and cleft palates, and they work all over the world. And they actually teach doctors in other countries how to perform operations. So it's just £150 will actually, you know, save. Some cases it is save the life of somebody, but actually to have the operation and completely transform their life. So I love that. And then more recently, about 6 months ago, I started supporting Tree Sister, who are an amazing organisation that do work around education, around the goddess, and they work with reforestation. So I'm now planting 38 trees a month, which I think is amazing, you know.
That's fabulous. The way you've just said that, it's so clear. I'm now planting 38 trees a month. Yeah. Wow. That's you know, for me, hearing that's the impact.
Yes.
Compared to, I've donated however much money. Yeah. That doesn't mean the same. It's the impact that means it.
Yeah. So I think from our conversation and talking around it, that was, you know, a great revelation for me to see, like, where did I really want? I mean, I love trees and nature, and I love the goddess and all of that, and so it was just kind of, you know, triple win really in terms of supporting them. So tell us about your charities.
So the first cause that I really got involved with, the one I went off to Rwanda with, and I've done so much work with over the years, is a charity called Create Global Healing. And so that was initially in Rwanda. We've now got a similar project running in Australia for Indigenous people and refugees. So I've been out fundraising in Australia with them too.
Amazing. Yeah.
Which is fabulous. And I mean, over the years, I've supported so many different charities. Locally, there's a social enterprise I'm involved with here called Lead a Bright Future. So I've done a bit with them because I do a mixture of fundraising and volunteering in different ways. Yeah. So, you know, that's been sitting on their non-exec board. And then just this week, I'm really, really excited because the young people that I've supported in Rwanda, they've grown up now. I feel like that's sort of come in a circle now, and it's time for me to move on to another cause to be fundraising for and going out and doing work for. And I was hoping to start running business impact retreats in Bali next year. I'm just back from Bali. But unfortunately there's a volcano that's about to go off there. Yeah. So unfortunately we've had to put on hold the Bali trip. However, I have just spoken to a charity who I just have fallen in love with this week called Classroom of Hope. It is an Australian charity, although they live in Bali, but they build schools and education systems in Bali, Indonesia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and bizarrely Rwanda. So I am looking to raise more money for them now. I think they may well be my charity of choice for the next little while, and I'm really, really excited about that. Really excited about that. So as well as, I mean, I support lots locally too, but those, for a big one, I'm very excited about that potential to see where that goes. And I think, it's paying attention to what people are doing. I often support charity, my partners, my business partners, my clients. So again, it's paying attention to all the other ways we support causes already.
Yeah. So, Alison, I think we're probably wrapping up now in terms of what we can share. You've shared so many tips and nuggets of wisdom. So you've got two amazing books, haven't you? Do you want to share a little bit about your books, Gift to Profit and Heartitude?
Yeah, sure. No, the first one was Heartitude and the 9 Principles of Heart-Centered Success. And that is a toolkit of many different tools and techniques you can use to change how you feel and put yourself in the best place to succeed in life and cope with life's challenges. So a lot of it is a lot of the healing techniques that I'm sure your audience is familiar with, a lot of science in there as well. Then the one that I published this year is Gift to Profit, on how to grow your business by supporting charities and social causes. And that really, it explains what we've been talking about here, takes people through the 7 steps for doing that, including how do you choose the right cause and how do you strategically link what you're doing to your business so you can grow your business. And there are many different ways you can do it. So that's what that book's about. So yeah, very excited about that indeed.
Beautiful. And you also have an amazing free gift that you're offering. So would you like to tell our listeners about that? I think that's really helpful.
Well, I have... Yeah, one of the things people constantly ask me about is, well, how can I raise money?
Yeah.
And how can I do it through my business? So I have a free ebook on 52 ways to raise funds for causes through your business. I've got that. And I do actually also now have the podcast as well, which people can tune into too, the Gift to Profit podcast. So.
Fantastic. So if you're wanting to find out more, my darlings, about how you can grow your business and you can support your charities, you'll definitely want to check out Alison's free gift. So if you go to lovekimberly.com/charity, you can grab Alison's wonderful free opt-in gift there and start figuring out how you're going to start supporting charities and grow your business. And of course, there will be links to Alison's site. You've got the gifttoprofit.com, where you've got lots more information around what we've been talking about, and then your website, which is alison.com.
Alison.com with a U, so it's ALISOUN.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Alison. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you, and thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with our listeners. I'm sure they're going to get lots of benefit, and this beautiful energy, heart energy, this compassion for the world. We can spread that, and as entrepreneurs, I feel that that's a part of our purpose and business. If we look back at how business started, then it was about an exchange of energy, and it was about making a difference. And it feels like somehow it's got a little bit lost in kind of the spreading and the global business. So it's nice to be able to kind of see how we can come back to that beautiful energy of sharing, giving and receiving, exchanging energy, supporting others, and making that contribution.
Totally. And bringing that part of us into the business, which is really, really important. So thank you so much, Kim, for the opportunity to be here today. I really appreciate it.
You are so welcome, my darling, so welcome. So until we meet again, my lovelies, much love and bye for now.
You've been listening to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show. If you've enjoyed the show, subscribe and review our podcast. Sign up to receive your Wealthy Business Goddess resources and join us in the Wealthy Business Goddess community at www.lovekimberly.com/WBG. To find out more about how Kimberly can support you in creating the life and business of your dreams, or to watch the show via video, visit the website at www.kimberlylovell.com.